Welcome to Stock Talk, your deep dive into the latest market insights and economic shifts.
Good to be here.
Our mission today really is to unpack the most important nuggets from, well, quite a stack of sources. We want to give you a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed on what's been moving the markets.
Hmm.
And a big thank you is definitely due to stocktelescope.com for compiling all this data. It made this deep dive possible.
Absolutely vital.
We're drawing from a really wide range today. The Washington Post, CNBC, Investors Business Daily, Reuters, The Verge, The Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, CNN, and the New York Times. So quite a mix.
A broad perspective, yeah.
And hey, if you find this useful as we go, please do hit that subscribe button. Okay, let's unpack this.
It's been an incredibly dynamic period, hasn't it? Significant movements across, well, almost every sector and the wider economy, too.
Totally.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is how these different threads, these developments, they often connect in ways you don't immediately expect.
Absolutely. So kicking things off with the broad market momentum. All three major indexes, the S&P 500, the Dow, the Nasdaq, they all saw pretty significant rises on Monday.
Right.
And the S&P 500 actually hit a new record high.
Impressive.
Yeah, and despite some, sharp losses earlier in Q2, they all bounced back really impressively. Finished the quarter with solid gains.
That strong rebound, it signals a certain resilience in the market, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Something worth looking at closely, especially when you think about the forces driving it.
And speaking of driving forces, Meta, its stock soared to a record high $738.09. That reflects a, 27% year-to-date rally?
Huge numbers.
Yeah, fueled largely by its new superintelligence AI lab and some pretty aggressive talent recruitment. They're even pulling people from places like OpenAI.
Right. Poaching talent is definitely part of the game now.
But here's something really interesting. Apple, famous for keeping everything in-house.
Oh, yeah. Famously so.
Well, they're apparently in early talks with Anthropic and OpenAI to use their large language models for a new Siri.
Wow. Okay, that is a significant strategic shift. We're not just talking about tech giants outsourcing minor things here.
Exactly.
This signals maybe a critical pivot in how AI development is viewed. These models are becoming like core infrastructure, almost like cloud computing was.
Good analogy.
So the competitive edge might shift, from building the absolute best model yourself to figuring out how to integrate existing powerful models most effectively and ethically, too.
Right. That raises a big question then, doesn't it? What does this mean for companies that have always relied on their own proprietary AI?
Exactly. It's a major strategic consideration now.
And let's not forget Amazon's automation milestone. This is pretty staggering. They've deployed over 1 million robots in their warehouses.
1 million. Wow.
Nearly matching their human workforce numbers.
Yeah.
What does that scale of automation tell us about, the future of logistics?
Yeah.
And maybe jobs in e-commerce?
Well, it suggests Amazon is going all in on efficiency, doesn't it? Tackling labor costs, smoothing out logistics. They're really setting a benchmark.
Pressure on competitors, then.
Oh, definitely. Massive pressure. You either invest heavily to keep up or you risk falling way behind in terms of operational efficiency.
Okay, moving to some other pivotal business shifts. Cloudflare. They just unveiled this pay-per-crawl tool.
Yes, I saw that.
It lets websites block, or get this, charge AI firms for scraping their content. It's a totally new way to think about digital monetization, right?
What?
Especially as sites see search referral money dropping.
It's more than just a new revenue stream, though. I think Cloudflare's move is, it's almost foundational. It's shifting how we value digital content itself.
How so?
Well, it sets a precedent, you see. For creators, publishers, it gives them a tool to regain some control and maybe monetize their IP directly from the AI companies using it. It could reshape the whole online publishing economy.
A proactive defense, maybe?
Definitely a proactive response to a very real challenge that AI scraping poses.
Okay. Now, while innovation is driving a lot, sometimes outside factors really shake things up. Like Tesla. We saw its stock react pretty sharply after Elon Musk reignited a feud with President Trump, this time over deficit spending. And that reportedly led to threats of subsidy reviews.
That was quite the spat.
So what does it signal when a major company's stock takes a hit so directly because of a public fight with a political leader? Is this like a new kind of risk for public companies?
Yeah.
In this sort of politicized economy?
That's a sharp observation. Yeah, it absolutely introduces a really unpredictable variable for investors. It's not just about policy changes anymore.
Right.
It highlights how how executive political engagement, even just tweets or public statements, can become a direct market factor. It adds this layer of non-traditional risk that analysts now really have to factor in.
Interesting. Okay, meanwhile, a kind of surprising development over at Novo Nordisk.
With Wegovy.
Yeah, they're reorganizing leadership because apparently internal warnings about the Wegovy launch were ignored, and that allowed Eli Lilly's Zepbound to actually overtake Wegovy in U.S. prescriptions.
Ouch. That's a big miss in a highly competitive market. A leadership shakeup makes sense there.
Definitely. And zooming out to the broader economy, the U.S. dollar. It's fallen over 10% in the first half of 2025.
Which is steep.
It's the steepest early year decline in over 50 years, weighed down by things like Trump's tariff threats, inflation worries, rising debt. I mean, 50 years ago, gas was under 50 cents a gallon. Just for context.
Right. And if you connect that falling dollar to the bigger picture, it hits everything, doesn't it? Import costs go up, but U.S. exports get cheaper abroad.
True.
So it impacts trade balances, investment flows. It's a major economic signal with global ripples.
Speaking of global, let's touch on policy. Senate Republicans worked through the night, didn't they, to advance President Trump's tax and spending bill before the July 4th deadline.
Yeah, late night session there.
And interestingly, there was a nearly unanimous vote, 99-1, to remove a proposed 10-year ban on state regulations of AI from that bill.
Now that vote is telling, isn't it? Removing a federal ban like that suggests a real desire for maybe localized control over AI policy.
So a patchwork of state rules instead of one national approach.
Could be. It definitely reflects how fast AI is evolving and maybe the general caution surrounding how to regulate it effectively at this stage.
And globally.
Well, the European Central Bank has basically declared its rate hiking phase done. They managed to cut inflation from a peak of, 10% down to 2%?
That's a pretty significant signal from Europe.
Yeah, potentially setting a precedent for other central banks wrestling with inflation.
So wrapping this all up, what does this mean for you listening in? I mean, from these big strategic shifts in AI-like companies outsourcing development to the dollar's surprising performance, the market is just constantly changing.
Always evolving. New opportunities, new challenges.
Which brings up a really important question, I think. How will this increasing integration of AI, especially with big players looking outside their own walls for development, how will that reshape not just tech, but the whole economy, the job market? What skills become most valuable going forward? Something to mull over.
Definitely. The implications are huge, really, touching almost every sector.
Well, that's our deep dive for today. We hope you feel a little more informed and maybe a lot more curious. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights.